Hello, Sunim. Thank you for taking the time to answer my question. I'm a scientist, and scientists in the United States, at least, are expected to work long hours, including weekends and holidays. So this culture is very normal, but in this pandemic time, it's very difficult to work these hours because we have to split up our time with our co-workers because we cannot be too close to each other. So the problem is that it's not just my boss, but I've noticed this in other senior scientists as well. They want us to work like it's normal times. So at least in my lab, we still have the same amount of meetings where we're expected to generate data and to update our boss, but it's not really possible to be as productive as before. So my question is, how do you handle people who just expect too much from you during this time?
네, 우리 인생살이에서 두 가지 우리가 잘못 생각하고 있는 게 있어요.
So there are two common mistakes we often misthink in our life.
첫째, 내가 원하는 것이 다 이루어질 수 있다 하는 착각이에요.
One, the first mistake is that we think, we can get everything we want.
근데 실제로 내가 원하는 게 다 이루어질 수가 없습니다.
But of course, as you know, there's no way we can get everything we want.
근데 원하는 것이 다 이루어질 수 없는 것이 진실이라면 원하는 것이 이루어지지 않는다고 괴로워할 이유는 없잖아요.
So if the truth is that we cannot get everything we want, then there's no reason for us to suffer if we can't get everything we want, right?
근데 원하는 것이 이루어지지 않을 때 괴로운 거는 원하는 것이 다 이루어질 수 있다고 나도 모르게 착각하고 있기 때문에 그렇습니다.
So the reason that we suffer when we can't get what we want is that there is an underlying expectation, despite the fact that we expect we get everything we want.
또 원하는 것이 다 이루어진다고 결과가 반드시 좋은 건 아니에요.
And further, just because even if we get everything we want, the result might not actually be that positive.
그렇기 때문에 원하는 것이 이루어지지 않으면 그만두거나 그것이 더 계속 원한다면 계속 그것을 이루기 위해서 노력할 뿐입니다.
So there's only really two choices, right? One is if you can't get what you want, one is to leave the situation, quit the job per se, or make the decision to continue to try to get what you want.
그다음 두 번째는 남이 나한테 원하는 거를 내가 다 해줄 수 있다는 착각이에요.
In the second case, then, the mistake we commonly make is that we think that we can satisfy everything that others want of us.
다 해줄 수가 없어요.
We can't do that.
우리는 그 남이 원하는 것을 내가 해줄 수 없으면 미안해하거나 그걸 갖고 또 괴로워하는 사람이 있습니다.
And of course, if we can't satisfy everything that others want of us, we feel apologetic, we feel sorry, and we suffer because of that.
또 상대가 나한테 지나친 걸 원한다고 상대를 미워하기도 합니다.
Or we hate the other person for wanting too much of us.
지금 질문 케이스는 이 두 번째 케이스예요.
And in your case, it falls under this case I just described.
근데 그 사람이 그렇게 원하는 거는 그 사람의 마음이에요.
So what he or she wants, what your supervisor wants, it's up to them.
그걸 내가 이래라 저래라 할 수가 없어요.
And there's no way you can say, want this, but do not want this of me.
저 사람은 이런 것을 원하구나 이렇게 내가 알 뿐입니다.
And the only thing you can do is accept the fact that that person wants this of you.
해줄 수 있으면 해주면 돼요.
And if you can satisfy that, then go ahead and do so.
해주기가 싫으면 싫어 이렇게 표현하면 됩니다.
And if you don't want to satisfy all what they want from you, you say no.
해주고 싶지만은 내가 능력이 안 되면 아 죄송합니다. 제가 힘이 안 됩니다. 이렇게 말하면 됩니다.
But if you want to be able to satisfy what they want of you, but you're not able to because you have limited capacity, then you say, I like to, but I can't. I'm sorry.
해주기가 싫어서 안 해주면 당연히 상대로부터 비난을 받거나 미움을 받습니다. 그것을 기꺼이 받아들여야 됩니다.
But if you don't want to satisfy what others want of you because you don't want to, although you might have the capacity to do so, then you have to deal with the consequences and with the criticism that come from that.
내가 해줄 능력이 안 돼서 못 해주면 상대가 그것을 갖고 비난을 할 수도 있습니다. 그럼 비난을 감수하면 됩니다.
Similarly, if you don't have the capacity to satisfy what others want of you, the others, then they might not be happy with you and they might also criticize.
결국 요점은 해주기는 싫거나 해줄 능력이 없고 비난은 받고 싶지 않고 이 두 가지를 다 갖고 싶은 데서 오는 문제.
So the problem here is happening because either you don't want to satisfy all these demands, or you don't have the capacity to satisfy all these demands. And at the same time, you don't want to be criticized for not satisfying all these demands.
이해하셨어요?
Do you understand?
Yes.
그러니까 그건 그 사람의 문제가 아니라는 거예요.
So what I'm trying to say, it's not that person's problem. It's not your supervisor's problem.
나의 문제지.
It's my problem.
제가 못 해주면 죄송합니다. 제가 할 수가 없습니다. 이렇게 말하면 돼요.
And if you can't do it, you just say, I'm sorry, I can't do it.
그래서 상대가 비난을 하면 이렇게 받아들이면 돼요.
And if then your boss criticizes you, then you have to be able to accept that.
보스 입장에서는 자기가 원하는 것이 안 됐으니까 뭐 기분이 나쁘겠다 이렇게 이해를 할 수 있습니다.
And so you have to understand that from a supervisor perspective, since he didn't get what he wanted out of you, he's probably not feeling good about it.
비판받기 싫으면 내가 밤을 새서라도 해주면 돼요.
But if you don't want to be criticized, then you can choose to stay up all night and try to, finish the work that he wants you to do.
그러니까 밤을 새워서 해주고 칭찬받을 거냐, 그냥 제가 못합니다 하고 비난받을 거냐, 둘 중에 어느 게 낫겠는지를 자기가 선택하는 거예요.
So your choice is whether you push yourself and stay up all night and do whatever you need to do in order to finish the work that he wants you to do and then be praised for it, or you say, I can't do this, I'm sorry, and be criticized for it. So that's the choice you need to make.
어느 쪽을 선택하시겠어요?
Which one will you choose?
To be criticized.
그러면 편안하게 할 만큼 하고 못하면 죄송합니다 이러면 돼요. 두려워할 거나 조마조마할 필요가 없습니다.
Then there's nothing to fear or nothing to be anxious about. Basically, you do what you can, and then for the rest, you say, I'm sorry, this is all I can do.
이런 관점을 가져야 인생을 편안하게 살지, 안 그러면 늘 죽을 때까지 남의 눈치를 보고 끌려다니면서 살아야 됩니다.
So this is the kind of attitude you need to bring to your life in order to make your life more comfortable. Instead of trying to always be, anxious because you're trying to try to please and satisfy others' desire of you.
That is very true.
그러니까 항상 거절하라는 건 아니에요. 때로는
So I'm not saying that you should refuse everything, of course, right?
때로는 거절하고 때로는 밤을 새워서 해주기도 하고 그럴 때 어느 선택을 하든 내가 편안해야 된다는 거예요.
So you can sometimes for some work you could choose to stay up and and do all the work. For others, maybe you just can't do it. But whatever choice you make, the key point is for you to be comfortable with the choices you make without being anxious.
예, 보통 사람들은 밤새매가 하면서 그 사람을 미워하고 불평하고 또 안 해주면서 두려워하고 비난받을까 봐 두려워하고 이렇게 생활합니다.
So most of us, most everyday people, what they choose to do is actually they stay up all night, they push themselves and they overdo it and do the work and then hate the person who actually made them do it. Or they don't do it, but they're always anxious about the scolding or the criticism or the consequences they might get for not doing it.
There are bad consequences either way.
그런데 이제 하기 싫으면 죄송합니다 하고 비난을 감수하고 또 비난받기 싫으면 뭐 그냥 하룻밤 샜어 해주면 되고 그것이 편안해야 된다 핵심은.
Right. So the key is for you to be comfortable with the choice, without being anxious, whatever choice you make. So if you don't want that criticism, that scolding, you know what? Stay up all night and finish it. But but if you don't want to do it, then deal with the criticism that's going to come.
어느 쪽을 선택해도 힘든 게 아니고 어느 쪽을 선택해도 나는 괜찮다 이렇게 돼야 됩니다.
So whatever choice you make should not be a difficult choice for you to make, and whatever choice you make, you should be able to tell yourself that I'm okay with whatever comes.
That sounds good. That was helpful. Thank you.
네, 도움이 된 것 같습니다. 감사합니다.
네.